Welcome everybody, and to all of you watching online, welcome. To those of you hoping to follow tonight on your BlackBerry, bad luck. My name's Matthew Rock. As Francis said, I'm one of the founding team of Caspian Media and Real Business, which is a magazine, digital and face-to-face community for entrepreneurs and what we call high-performance businesses. It's a great pleasure to be here with you this evening. I've chaired many of these events, and I'm very grateful to Francis and Isabel and to Claire for giving me the chance just to talk a little bit about our story. I've been asked to talk about how we've built a media brand, and in my dual role as a long-time business journalist, about how young, high-potential businesses can gain media attention. So I'm just going to spend a few minutes on, first of all, us, Caspian Media, how we came about our story, and then I'll move on to talking a little bit about Real Business, and then share a few, and they are very few, thoughts about how you can gain media attention. We've got three great people to talk about that later on, focus on that, and we can take your questions. So I won't spend too long on that, but I'll just share a few thoughts. So if we can go on to my first slide. Please. Thank you very much. Right, our business is called Caspian Media. We've been established for 15 years now. I was part of the founding team. We're now a 70-person business, which is a lot of people to look after, a lot of mouths to feed. We're about an £8 million turnover business. We're private equity backed by a private equity firm division of Lloyd's called LDC. I was part of the original founding team and put what should have been the deposit on a flat into a new business, and 15 years on, still there and still plugging away. I'm a journalist and editor by training, but having been part of this journey, I've also had to learn the hard way, the realities of being part of a team running a business as well. So it's those two perspectives that I'll bring to share tonight. What we've done as a business is built two brands, our two brands, Real Business and Real Deals. Real Business, which I'll talk about in a bit more detail, is focused on entrepreneurs, high performance companies, SMEs. Real Deals, which I won't spend too much time on, the tagline is the independent voice of European private equity. It's a very strong media brand for a niche community of European venture capital and private equity investors. Flowing off of those two brands, we've developed an events portfolio. This is classic publishing model. So Real Business holds the Growing Business Awards, the Entrepreneurs Summit, and many others. And Real Deals hosts the Private Equity Awards, mid-market events in the UK and Europe. And alongside those two bits of the business, so the brands themselves, the events programs that flow off, we're also a digital publishing and events agency. And we specialize in publishing magazines and producing communications programs for the CBI and the Institution of Mechanical Engineers, the Benenden Healthcare Society, which you may never have heard of, but which is their magazine, Ben Health, is the 28th largest circulation magazine in Britain, so useless fact of the evening for you. And we publish and we do content and events programs for Vodafone and HSBC. So that's a little bit about us. I'd like now to move on to Real Business and talk to you a little bit about what we've done there, and specifically about the point I'd like to focus on is how this brand, which started as a traditional print and media brand, has transitioned into a digital and face-to-face community. And I think there are lessons in that for anybody who is looking to build a media profile or indeed work in the media space. Now, here's one of those classic slides that has too many words on it, so I apologize for that. It just tells you a little bit about Real Business. We launched in 1997 as a magazine. At that time, there were no business magazines focused purely on entrepreneurs and SMEs. It was a very different climate. Today, I think, through television, through social media, through the Dragon's Den and The Apprentice and all these things, there's a lot of focus on entrepreneurs and SMEs. But 14 years ago, there really wasn't. The business press was focused on business as a generality, and then there were the odd profile, the odd piece about entrepreneurs. So we thought this was a market opportunity, and we launched Real Business into that space, and we made a great impact. Part of the reason, I think, for the strength of Real Business over the years is that it very much mirrored our own story. It was a magazine for entrepreneurs, by entrepreneurs. We were living the life of the growth-focused, ambitious business. We were dealing with all the issues, raising money, hiring people, firing people, deciding when to bring in a finance director, raising secondary funding, nightmares about paying the wages, all the stuff that the people in this room who run their own businesses will be very familiar with. And we brought that into the publication, and I think that sort of authentic voice has been a strong part of the success behind Real Business. Our tagline at the beginning was, "If your business is your passion," and we don't use that line anymore, but I still think it speaks really strongly to anybody who is running their own business. Your life revolves around your business, and that's always come through in Real Business. Over the years, we've built, as I've mentioned before, a whole portfolio of other activities around Real Business. So magazine, clearly, the website has become and is now the hub of what we do, events, awards, roundtables, all those sorts of things. So we now have a thriving community, and we sit at the center of a thriving community of people who lead, people with get up and go. That's what we like, and those are the people that we try to cater for. I just put that bullet point, 2001. It was just a highlight in our journey. 2001, Bill Gates attended our Growing Business Awards. I'll mention a little bit more about him, thought about him later. But that was, you get these highlights when you're running a business, when you're part of a team running a business. And that was one of our big moments. Today, as I mentioned before, Real Business has transitioned away from purely a print title towards a digital and face-to-face community. The hub of the brand now is realbusiness.co.uk. That's the engine of activity. We still produce the magazine, but the hub of the brand is now centered around realbusiness.co.uk. A good example of how we've moved as a brand, and I think how all media is moving a brand, is a project that we've just completed called the Future 50. This has been a really interesting project to identify 50 grassroots businesses that are disrupting their marketplaces. We've done it in association with Red Bull, which in itself is interesting, a consumer brand wanting to talk to the entrepreneurial community. It's a really interesting story that started as a research project, desk and online research. We then created a shortlist with a number of eminent judges, and then we published our 50 in the magazine. And yes, we still do a bit of magazine publishing. So the Future 50 was published in the latest edition. But of course, it's had a life beyond that. And over the last couple of weeks, we've had literally tens of thousands per day hits on realbusiness.co.uk, responding to, arguing with, disputing, celebrating their own appearance on the Future 50. We then called for readers, viewers, visitors to vote for their people's choice, the #1 company in the Future 50, and we had 40,000 votes cast. Now, in the realm of X Factor, that isn't a big number, but in business to business. And in our space, that's a dramatic number of people engaging with a project about who are the disruptive hot brands of the future. It's a very exciting example of how a print title can move into a social media space and retain both the credibility of what you do in print, but engage in a new way via social media. And we're very proud of what we've achieved with that. We've got lots of new plans for 2012. I mean, it's my personal view, and it may come through tonight, but it's not really the topic, that we are facing what I'd call a national enterprise emergency, that this country needs desperately and urgently to develop it and foster its raft of the best businesses in this country, the high-performance businesses that generate jobs, wealth, international sales, we urgently need to focus as a country on those businesses, and that's very much our agenda for the next year. Maybe not the agenda for this evening, but I think it's an important one to communicate. If we can move on to the next slide, let me just share a few thoughts about how to be a media maestro, and then we'll introduce Shazia up onto stage. I've spent lots of time over the last couple of weeks trying to think about how to boil it all down, and there are many, many things, and I know that Louise will talk about her experiences as a PR professional, and Rob and Jonathan, you know, as high-quality journalists, will talk about their observations on this, and Shazia is going to share some. So this list is just, you know, a bit random, really, but it's 6 points which I thought I'd like to share with you. You, as business owners, entrepreneurs, however you characterize yourself, you are the brand. You are the most important thing about your business, and in communicating to the media, you're the voice that we in the media want to hear. It's a simple point, but you shouldn't underestimate it. You are the point of interest. So have a point of view. I picked up on Twitter this morning a quote from Michael O'Leary, and I'm not saying you have to have a point of view like this, but it illustrates the point. Michael O'Leary, the chief executive of Ryanair: if you don't want to pay the £20 infant fee, don't bring any infants. Now, I'm not saying that you need to take it that far, but there is a brilliant example of a man who represents his brand. Love it or hate it, he represents his brand. And he's the person that you think of when you talk about Ryanair. So it's, I think it's a point to bear in mind. My second point is about how you then communicate it. And I say this with due respect to the PR community, who bring huge value to young and entrepreneurial businesses. But the best person to tell the story of a small business, an entrepreneurial business, is you yourself. You're the most interesting person. You will communicate it in a way that no one else will. My third point, and I bring you back to, I said I'd come back to Bill Gates. Don't worry if you're shy. Don't worry if you're not a natural communicator. That matters not. Journalists will respond to an authentic voice, somebody who clearly cares about their business, about the marketplace in which they exist. I reference Bill Gates because he, like other very successful, Sir Richard Branson is another, very successful entrepreneurs, are not natural communicators, would not be comfortable in this environment sitting up on stage. They've learned and they've taught themselves to do it. So if you don't feel you're a natural communicator, I don't believe that matters. But if you can communicate your business with passion and with energy, then we, the media community, will respond to that. Point 4, which I nicked off Will King, the founder of King of Shaves, because I thought he put it nicely. We, the media, don't own the agenda anymore. That's the great transformation of social media. We sometimes dictate the agenda, we can dictate the agenda, we're influential in it, but you can set the agenda. This is a world in which the tables are turned. So if you're a business with a strong story to tell, a strong line to take, you can set the agenda. So we live in a world where multiple points of view are as important as the single media point of view. So it's a world of dialogue, not broadcast. Point 5, understand the new media hierarchy. You know, please disagree with me on this, but I've just given 3 levels as I see them. I think there's a level in which you must exist as a small business. You must play a part in the world of social media and Twitter. You just have to be there. You have to be constantly talking. The world is live now. We live in a world where you know, rolling news is everything, and I think companies are live entities now. You should be talking about yourself the whole time. That's level 1. There's then level 2, which is about promotion, and this to me is about the mainstream media. It's clearly still important for businesses of all shapes and sizes just to get a presence, build awareness, make sure that people know about you. There's a layer on top of this, which is one about influence, and this is where I think that there is where print still plays a role. In my view, getting your business onto the front cover of a magazine like Real Business into the Financial Times and Jonathan to write a serious piece about you, that could be a life and business changing achievement if you do it. So I think that there is at the top of the media, there is still some seminal environments where if you can get your story across, it can set the agenda for the whole of your business's life. People will always look back to that article. And really, that's repeated in my final point. That first serious article, I hope that all your businesses are already live, are already talking about themselves, are already on Twitter and the like. But try and think about that first serious article, because it could perhaps be the one that people always come back to when they want to know more about your business. And if you can get that some serious coverage, as well as all the other coverage in the early days, then I think you can put yourself in good stead.